Elon Musk and Donald Trump just ignited a crisis that rocketed far beyond Twitter. Musk temporarily threatened to decommission SpaceX's Dragon capsule, the only US spacecraft ferrying crews to the ISS, after Trump mused about canceling SpaceX contracts. NASA and the Pentagon scrambled. This isn't just corporate drama, it's a wake-up call for American space dominance and national security. Today, we'll unpack how this showdown began, why it reverberated through space infrastructure, and what it means for America's future in orbit and beyond. Stay tuned, because the fate of ISS access and strategic resilience is at stake in this feud. Feud sparks fallout. It all began with Musk, a sharp criticism of Trump's massive one big beautiful bill, a tax and spending package that Musk denounced as rushed and irresponsible. Trump retaliated on Truth Social and X, threatening to cancel Musk's government contracts over his displeasure with his public pushback. Within hours, Musk responded that SpaceX would decommission the Dragon spacecraft, a drastic move given Dragon's central role in ferrying astronauts and cargo to the ISS under a $5 billion NASA contract. This wasn't idle rhetoric. NASA and DoD officials publicly described the moment as alarming, shifting from entertaining to terrifying. They suddenly faced the prospect that America's capability to launch people and critical satellites could be rendered useless, not because of technical problems, but due to a tweet echoing from the public stage. Even though Musk reversed his decision later, tweeting, "Okay, we won't decommission Dragon," the damage had already been done. Add to that the news that Jared Isaacman, Musk's longtime ally, had lost a Trump-supported NASA administrator nomination, feeding speculation of a politically driven feud that bled into critical space oversight. One insider warned this wasn't a circus, this is a real issue, not a TV show. And they were right. Not only was $22 billion worth of SpaceX contracts at stake, but so too was the backbone of US human spaceflight and national defense-oriented launches. In short, a high-profile social media exchange morphed into a contingency crisis, one that saw decision-makers scrambling for Plan B. This incident wasn't just a personal spat, it became a flashpoint, highlighting the fragility of US space capabilities when tied to a single individual's outburst. And that realization set decision-makers into overdrive towards seeking alternatives, which we'll dive into next. Critical dependence exposed. When Musk made his Dragon threat, it exposed something deeper than public drama, a structural vulnerability in US space infrastructure. The Crew Dragon isn't just one option among many. It is currently the only active American spacecraft capable of carrying astronauts to the International Space Station. NASA has relied on it exclusively since the program went operational in 2020. Without it, the US would be left with zero domestic options for manned spaceflight. That dependency alone is alarming, but the alternatives aren't exactly ready for liftoff. Boeing's Starliner, which was intended as Dragon's backup under NASA's Commercial Crew program, has faced years of delays and multiple technical issues. As of mid-2025, it's still grounded, with no confirmed date for its first full operational mission after failing to complete its scheduled May launch due to valve and software concerns. In short, there is no Plan B that's ready to fly today. Faced with this grim reality, NASA and the Pentagon immediately initiated damage control. According to the Washington Post and Reuters, both agencies reached out to other commercial spaceflight companies to evaluate their capabilities and readiness. The list included Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin, the rapidly advancing Rocket Lab, Stoke Space, and Sierra Space, which is developing the Dream Chaser spaceplane. Each of these companies has shown promise, but none are crew-ready today. NASA's outreach was described by Sierra Space officials as a clear sign the agency wants to avoid being caught flat-footed again. Beyond personnel transport, the threat also impacts national defense. SpaceX holds contracts worth billions, not just for crew and cargo to the ISS, but for launching sensitive military payloads, including reconnaissance satellites and hypersonic missile detection systems. The Pentagon relies on Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy launch vehicles to deploy its most crucial orbital infrastructure. Losing access to those vehicles, even temporarily, could create dangerous gaps in surveillance, missile defense, and communications. Even more concerning was the tone of urgency behind the scenes. Reports indicate NASA and DoD leadership were caught off guard by how quickly a personal feud threatened to destabilize an entire spaceflight architecture. That's not how strategic systems should operate. This crisis has forced decision-makers to confront a tough truth. U.S. space leadership currently hinges on a single private company and on the temperament of its CEO. In the next section, we'll explore how this realization has reignited the national conversation about space monopolies, private control, and the very future of American dominance in orbit. Rethinking space control. The Musk-Trump conflict didn't just stir headlines, it triggered a serious national security debate. Can the U.S. afford to let a single person or company control such critical systems? For years, SpaceX has been hailed as the revolutionary force in spaceflight, delivering cargo, astronauts, and cutting-edge satellites with unmatched speed and affordability. But this incident reminds us that dependence on one player is not resilience, it's risk. SpaceX currently handles nearly all NASA crew missions and a growing number of Pentagon launches. While competitors exist, none match its proven track record or reusability technology. Elon Musk's vision made space travel cool again, but this same centralized success story has created what some officials now describe as a strategic choke point. The issue isn't just about launch hardware, it's about decision-making power. When Musk threatened to shut down Dragon, even briefly, he exercised power that arguably belongs in the hands of a government agency, not a private individual. That threat shook leaders across federal agencies who now find themselves asking, what if this happens again? What if the next disagreement is over military satellites, not astronauts? This debate has also reignited scrutiny over the Commercial Crew Program itself. Designed to foster competition and drive down costs, the program was supposed to support multiple vendors. But years of delays, especially from Boeing, allowed SpaceX to become the de facto monopoly. Now there is renewed urgency to accelerate development at firms like Blue Origin, whose new Glenn rocket is expected to be operational within the next year, and Sierra Space, whose Dream Chaser vehicle recently passed key integration milestones. The Department of Defense is also reportedly revisiting its launch contracts, aiming to balance national security needs with commercial innovation. Expect to see increased investment in multiple redundant launch systems and possibly the formal separation of civilian and military launch providers to reduce overlap. Public confidence, too, is on the line. Americans cheered when Crew Dragon brought back human spaceflight from U.S. soil. But now, many are wondering, are we still pioneers if our missions can be cancelled by a billionaire AS post? What gives clear is this: the Musk-Trump episode shattered the illusion that America's space future was on autopilot. It wasn't. It was flying with one engine, and now policymakers are urgently looking to build out the rest of the fleet and make sure no single engine failure ever again puts the mission in jeopardy. One feud. Big wake-up call. This wasn't just a tech tycoon lashing out on social media. It was a moment of reckoning for U.S. space strategy. Elon Musk's threat to suspend Dragon missions revealed just how fragile America's space infrastructure truly is when concentrated in the hands of one provider. It jolted NASA, shook the Pentagon, and exposed a dangerous blind spot. A single person should never hold that much sway over access to orbit, crew transport, or national defense. What makes this story more than a news flash is what it says about the future. If the US wants to lead in space, whether for science, exploration, or security, it must diversify, decentralize, and de-risk. We need more launch providers. We need backups that actually work. And we need policies that prevent a single statement from grounding an entire space program. In the end, this isn't just about Trump or Musk. It's about how the US will build a space economy and security architecture that can't be disrupted by drama. The message is clear. Resilience isn't optional. It's the launch pad for everything we do beyond Earth. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If this deep dive helped you see how a single feud could shake the future of American spaceflight, be sure to like the video. Subscribe for more critical space coverage and drop a comment. Do you think NASA should rely more on the private sector or keep things in government hands? And if you're hungry for more updates like this, visit our website at www.spaceinews.com for full articles, mission briefings, and exclusive stories. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, the space race isn't over, it just changed orbit.